For years, I had found myself in a position, no matter what I was doing, whether it was my work as a hairdresser, other jobs I have had over the years, or just in my relationships with friends and family. I found myself always being the one who did all of the things and was rarely compensated or appreciated. I found myself always feeling less than, underpaid, undervalued, and honestly, dismissed. I felt taken advantage of. Hello, friends, and welcome. I'm so excited that you are joining me here today on the very first episode of my podcast, The Free Advantage, brought to you by The Risky Path. I want to invite you to join me each week as we will explore self-liberation, authenticity, and the journey to uncovering a life of freedom. This podcast is about sharing and exploring impactful experiences that we all share, and I'm wanting to do that in a very relatable and digestible way. With so much information out there, it can be very overwhelming to take it all in and know what to do with it. And here, I want to give you small bites that you can take back into your week and integrate into your daily life. In this first episode, Choosing Worth, the Pathway to Living Free, I open up about my journey with self-worth and why understanding our own value is so essential to living a life aligned with our truest self. Through my own process, I have discovered two powerful pathways that have shaped and continue to shape my experience in life every day. These paths are more than just concepts. They are lived experiences. They call us to stretch, trust, and ultimately align with who we are created to be. They have been my personal paths to growth, and each one offers you unique opportunities for growth as well. Over the last decade as a coach, I have had the privilege of working with and helping others rediscover who they are at their core and uncovering what it means to live free. I know firsthand what it can feel like to think there has to be more than this. Like, is this really all that there is? It was that feeling that ignited my personal journey, and it is why I am so passionate about guiding others toward the freedom that comes from walking in our true authenticity. Because yes, there is more than this. A few years ago, I had been going through a really rough time. I was working on my business, trying to get things going, and I was just getting stuck. Whenever I would try and put myself out there, literally anything, I would just freeze. It was paralyzing. My husband Sean and I would talk night after night about why this was happening, and though I could not exactly pinpoint what was holding me back, he just kept constantly encouraging me, just keep going, and that I was doing great. But it just didn't feel like it. The truth is that for years, I found myself in a position where no matter what I was doing, whether it was my work as a hairdresser, other jobs I had had over the years, or just in my relationships with friends and family, I always found myself being the one who did all of the things, and I never felt compensated or appreciated. I was feeling less than, underpaid, undervalued, and honestly dismissed. I felt taken advantage of. This kind of feeling has plagued me most of my life, feeling like I'm only as good as what someone could get for free or for very little. Honestly, it was no wonder that when I became a coach, I felt leery about putting myself out there. I did not want to feel the same way about this that I did about everything else. And the times that I did start to put myself out there, people, again, yes, they started to expect the quote unquote free advice. One night during one of mine and Sean's late night talks, we were deep in conversation, and I just blurted out and said, I feel like people are always taking advantage of me. It's like I'm not worth anything to them. Honestly, when it came out of my mouth, I felt a little relieved. Like, whew, I finally admitted it out loud. Now, I don't know what it was about that particular night or that particular conversation, but that moment was huge for me. It was a big breakthrough. I saw for the first time that it really wasn't they that didn't see my worth. They did. It was me who didn't see it. I mean, I don't know why just admitting that I felt that way, it just made me realize, like, wait a second. And of course, it was very easy for people to get what I was worth next to nothing, like, especially when I didn't even realize or know my own worth or see my own value. It literally was as if someone had removed the veil and I could see clearly. This wasn't about them. It was definitely about me. I realized that I had been giving away my value for free because deep down, I wasn't fully claiming it for myself. I remember sitting there kind of laughing because I realized, oh my God, I've had the power all along. I just hadn't been using it. Now, I do want to say that this wasn't all just about money. A lot of what I was feeling was wrapped around my energy. I would do and do and do for others and would be left just depleted and have nothing left for myself. The money issue just seemed to kind of compound the problem. But it was kind of in that moment of my realization, instead of me just getting angry and frustrated about it, I kind of just decided to lean into it. What if I flipped the script of taking advantage and getting something for free and I turned it into the free advantage? What if I stopped fighting and focused on aligning my work and my energy and my choices with the worth I already held inside? So that's what I did. I started to focus on my worth and value, less on the money part. And for me, that's really where the real shift happened. I saw that I wasn't lacking people coming to me for help. In fact, I had an abundance of people seeking me out. And that abundance wasn't the problem. It's how I was responding to it. So, yeah, I did. I decided to lean in. What if I did let people come to me for what they needed? I mean, that's why I got into this line of work in the first place. What if I gave them the free advantage, but on my terms? What if I stepped into my worth? What if I helped others to see that freedom is the advantage that they already have? This was the beginning of self-alignment for me. I started making decisions that aligned with my true values instead of letting others dictate my worth. I stepped into a place of flow, one where I recognized the power of my choices and my inner value. I finally started to give myself what I had been giving others. And this is where the free advantage was born. So, what exactly is the free advantage? Outside of it being this podcast, this is the path about exploring the freedom that comes from self-alignment, where you leverage your understanding, your strengths, and empathy and help create an authentic life and for you to live free. This path represents authentic alignment, your inner reliance, and worth-based choices, and choosing risk over comfort. There really is nothing like the idea of freedom. It is what we fight for. To a prisoner, freedom is the key to life. To an animal in a cage, freedom is running and jumping and feeling exuberant. To orphans, freedom is a loving family that cares for them. And for the soldier, freedom is home. What is freedom for you? When I named this podcast The Free Advantage, I wanted everyone who listened to it to feel like they were walking away with more than they bargained for. That there is an advantage to coming and spending time with me, and that you get that advantage for free. But honestly, it is so much more than that. This is a path to living free every single day. We don't realize that freedom really is the advantage we already have. It was so impactful for me when I realized this. We are already free from life's chains. It is us, our very own selves, that keep us locked inside. We use our own bodies as cages. Our hearts and minds have been locked down, and we're unable to feel and express and think for ourselves. And ultimately, we're unable to grow. But it is us who holds that key. It is we who have the ability to loose and free ourselves so that we may become explorers, archaeologists, and travelers of self, instead of wardens keeping us in check and holding us hostage inside our minds and bodies. Through this path, I have found 5 core principles that have really stood out and stood the test of time over the years on my journey. And the first one is embracing flow and alignment. One of the most important lessons I learned was recognizing moments of natural alignment between our values and actions. When I align with my values and actions, things flow naturally. I began choosing situations that felt natural and felt aligned with who I truly was. That helped me to lean into my authenticity. For you, this might look like recognizing somewhere in your life where you're pushing too hard. Maybe you're feeling off or out of sync. Take a step back and ask where you're feeling off. Where do things not quite feel like you? And listen to your intuition. That is where your power is. The emphasis here would be on finding all of the situations where efforts feel natural and not forced and starting to build on those strengths. And number two, developing your inner resources. Throughout this journey, I had to develop a reserve of self compassion and resilience. Instead of looking for external validation, I started to draw on my inner strength. I realized that my worth wasn't tied to others, it was tied to the belief in myself. I started building an inner foundation that allowed me to stand and stay grounded. And cultivating inner resources means creating a mindset that is centered on acceptance, empathy, and trust in yourself. It's about recognizing that you are enough as you are. You can rely on yourself, and you can do that without needing someone else to affirm that in you. And third, choosing self-worth. One of the biggest shifts I made was in how I made decisions. I stopped letting others dictate my worth and started making choices that align with what I knew to be true about myself. I stopped people pleasing, set boundaries, and began saying yes to things that supported my value and no to the things that didn't. This really is where the free advantage path shines. It's about consistently making choices that reflect your worth. The more you practice this, the more aligned and authentic your life will become. And last but definitely not least, staying risky. We have to remember not to get too comfortable. We want to focus on risk alignment, where risk taken should be aligned with our core values, our personal worth, and truth. Choosing to see and accept my own worth and to make a change was risky. It was not comfortable for me at all. And even though I did not like the way things were, I was comfortable there. I knew what to expect. The only one that would ever get upset when I said no was me. I mean, what happens when someone else gets upset? I have to talk about it. I have to face it. I have to deal with confrontation. I feel guilty. But choosing the risky path helped me to live free. It helped me to say yes and choose myself first, then others. Now, these principles are really great, and they have helped me so much in walking this path. But I want to give you something else, some more usable things to help you integrate them into your life, just the way I have. One of those ways is through something I call integrated fulfilled living. This path isn't just about making big changes. It's about living in alignment every day. When I wake up in the morning, I ask myself, what will make me feel fulfilled today? Now, fulfillment can be like this grand idea we have in life, like as we think out in the future, this grand scheme of being fulfilled at the end. And the truth is that I ask myself every day, what will fulfill you today, Heather? And I choose to do that. It's about weaving your values into your daily life and making intentioned decisions, whether that's in your work, your relationships, or even how you spend your free time. Ask yourself, what brings me fulfillment? And start making spaces for those things. Let them guide your decisions. And the second thing is grounded acceptance. One of the most freeing things I learned was the power of acceptance. When we accept situations as they are instead of fighting them, we reduce stress and we create room for growth. Accepting yourself doesn't mean that you stop growing. It doesn't mean that you're resigned to this is just the way it is. It means that you stop resisting what is true about you right now so you can grow. And third, empathetic connected presence. Being connected to yourself and to your own empathy is so important. Practicing empathy both for me and for others helped me navigate life with greater ease. When I learned how to accept and have empathy for myself, it helped me to connect to not only to my own humanity, but into the humanity in others. This made me able to see beyond people's actions and their behaviors and see them for who they really are. It helped me to not take things so personally. And this really helped me have the freedom to stay grounded in who I was, no matter how somebody else treated me. And those three things are some of the biggest things that I use and integrate every single day in my life when I wake up. And it's hard sometimes. I get it. I still struggle, but it can be done. And I know that you can do it too. Now, I want to invite you to reflect on your own life. Take this moment to think of an area where you have felt undervalued. Where have you struggled with your worth? I want you to remember that freedom is something that you already have, but accessing it requires just a small fee. It's going to cost you a yes. We have to say yes to choosing risk over comfort, to trusting over judging, and to accepting over constantly improving ourselves. We have to say yes to us. The free advantage is where we tune in to what feels right. It's about integration, alignment, and flow. Here, we are no longer pushing against ourselves. We are living from a place of inner alignment where our choices feel natural and true to who we are. We are all walking these paths together, learning, growing, and finding freedom along the way. And as I wrap up today, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me here today on The Free Advantage. For more resources, please visit my website, theriskypath.com. And if this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who might need to hear this message. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a review. Your voice matters, and it helps us to grow and get our message out to more people just like you. Let's continue this journey to freedom together. Come back next week as we will be exploring the second of my 2 powerful pathways, the risky path. And remember, freedom is the advantage you already own. Until next time.